How are you thinking about this, specifically given the fact that you are a leader in the business and financial community?
Well, specific to the letter you referenced, most recently, I felt it just important to speak out against the injustice and in particular the violence that we're seeing against Asian and Pacific Islander communities here in America. And so the thought process, though, if we span out, is I think that's part of a broader theme. So if you just think about over the past year, the spike that we've seen and those kinds of incidents, both in terms of the number and severity in that particular community, but also we're seeing it across other communities of color. So various ethnic minorities are suffering the same things. And I think the bigger picture is that we're seeing many of these systemic inequities, things that are laying in plain sight, coming to the fore. And I think that we, particularly as leaders in government, but especially in the business community, have an affirmative role to play, not only in raising our voice, because we have to acknowledge these things, but to actually use our influence and our power to really counteract many of these things.
Yeah, words are one thing, actions are another. So what does that mean at Northern Trust Asset Management? How are you putting this discussion, I guess, to work in real life within that context?
Well, there's a variety of things. And so one of the things, it starts with our senior-most leadership. Like in any culture, right, the leadership is sending a signal by what we voice and what we say. And what we've found is, as we've engaged in this, is we've not only raised our own voices, but we've given space to have a dialogue. We're hearing from our partners around our organization. And quite frankly, for me as a leader and our other leaders, it informs us better because we're all part of connected communities. Now, what that allows us to do is think about the power that we have, right? We can use what I call our C's, right? We have the ability to engage with our customers and our clients, right? We're collaborators with partners in business. We also have capital, which we invest. And if we think about how do we do that in more equitable ways, and how do we hold ourselves accountable in terms of how we do that? And so we're doing that within asset management by virtue of having programs in place for dealing with more diverse suppliers and vendors, whether it's who we trade with or other asset managers who we allocate dollars to when we invest. We're thinking about that in our own employment practices. So making sure that we're doing the best job that we can to increase our own diverse representation. But even when we have that representation, making sure that they have equitable opportunities for promotion. And that's especially true when we're thinking about gender. And it's also true when we're thinking about ethnic diversity. So we have very clear scorecards. We have very clear targets that we're holding ourselves accountable to. Lastly, we think about this beyond just charity. Charity is one important way. But again, corporate social responsibility is a very real thing. So how do we show up in the communities that we're in?
Yeah. You just mentioned the scorecards, and that was actually my next question for you, is how do you measure success, whether it's at Northern Trust or whether even if you span out as a business leader within the community more broadly, within society more broadly?
Well, there's a variety of ways. So first of all, if you think about first the culture that we have, you can actually measure the impact you're having from a cultural standpoint. So we know companies that have high trust cultures, that have higher levels of engagement, actually produce better business results, and their employees have a better experience. So one of the things we actively do is we actually measure engagement, right? And so over time, if we're seeing the effects of things like what we've committed to in terms of our targets and goals in diversity, equity, inclusion, are increasing our employee engagement, it's increasing our loyalty scores, not just among our employees, but actually our customers and those we do business with, that's one way to measure it. We also look at what is our ability to solve problems better and to bring more innovation, because we know, again, diversity, equity, and inclusion enhance those things. And obviously, there's the bottom line. This is good for business. Now, we have a moral and a cultural imperative to do it, but we also see that over time playing out in how we do as far as the economics and the value that we deliver to our shareholders.
It's an important conversation, and we're glad you had it with us. Shundrawn, thanks for being with us today.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.